Should David Moyes leave West Ham United at the end of the season when his contract expires? Steve Cooper, who is currently the Nottingham Forest manager, is one of the contenders to replace the Scotsman at the London Stadium. That's according to TalkSport. That's not according to Hamish Chat. That's not what I'm claiming. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm going to tell you why I strongly believe that this rumour is made up. So you've seen the title, you've seen the rumour in the last 24 hours, and thought, oh no, I don't want Steve Cooper at West Ham. Hopefully, I can calm you down a little bit with this video. But on the other side of it, if you got really excited and you're a massive fan of Steve Cooper, I might burst your bubble, so apologies in advance. But before we get into it, if you're new around here, please do subscribe. We're going to try and hit 35,000 subscribers before Christmas, so it's free, takes a couple of seconds. And also while you're down there, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up. Also, just quickly, pointing in the direction of our Patreon, if you join up today or tomorrow's the last day you can join in order to enter the giveaway for this shirt. This shirt was worn by Emerson in the Australian pre-season tour, hence why it's got the Dylan Tumbides Foundation as the sponsor. If you join Patreon today or tomorrow, you'll be entered into the giveaway. But not only will you be entered into November's giveaway, because your subscription lasts for a month, you'll be entered into December's giveaway as well. Now, while the top prize for December isn't 100% yet, it will either be a signed shirt or a match-worn shirt. So you'll be entered into two giveaways, but you have to join by midnight tomorrow night to be entered for the Emerson shirt. You can do that by going to patreon.com/Hamish Chat, and there'll be a list of all the benefits you can get by joining Hamish Chat Patreon. Anyway, TalkSport. This is what TalkSport are claiming. They stated Crystal Palace will make a move for Steve Cooper if he leaves Nottingham Forest. Cooper is under fresh pressure at the City Ground after a run of 1 win in 9 Premier League games. Didn't realise it was that bad, truth be told. I know Forest aren't having the best start to the season, but I didn't realise it was that bad. Palace owner Steve Parish is a long-time admirer of Cooper and would actively consider replacing Roy Hodgson with the Welshman if he did become available. Hodgson is only contracted to Palace until the end of the season. Cooper is also seen as a contender to replace David Moyes at West Ham when his deal expires in this summer. Now, hypothetically, if this was true, I'm going to tell you why I strongly don't believe that this is just made up in just a minute. But in regards to Steve Cooper, I think he's a good manager. I think he's a really good coach, actually. I think he's done a really good job with Nottingham Forest, getting them up into the Premier League. I think he did a really good job last season keeping him up. I always had faith that he would keep Nottingham Forest up. You know, this is the advantage of doing videos to some extent. But Lloyd, one of our subscribers called Lloyd, made a comment about David Moyes last week. And I thought it was fantastic. And then, funny enough, I met him at Burnley. But anyway, he said something along the lines of, I like David Moyes. I think David Moyes is a good manager, just not at West Ham. And I thought it was a really good comment. It's one of those opinions you read and you just instantly know exactly what that person means with that comment. And I think I would apply that to Steve Cooper a little bit. I think he's a good manager, a good coach, but it doesn't mean I'd want him at West Ham. And I'd be very disappointed if Moyes left at the end of the season and Steve Cooper was the person that we chose to bring in. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad manager. Just I don't think he'd be the type of manager I'd be hoping to bring in, because it's big shoes to fill in regards to David Moyes. If Tim Steidten is the one with sole responsibility for going and getting a new manager, and I have certain concerns over that. I see there's no evidence that Tim Steidten is going to be the one that employs the next manager and it's only up to him. I don't believe he was solely responsible for bringing in Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen. I follow a lot of German football. It's an opinion I've held when he was at Leverkusen, and I got excited about Steidten coming in the summer because of possibly who he learnt under at Leverkusen as much as what he did at Leverkusen. But I don't think there's any evidence that he was the man responsible for bringing Alonso over to the Bundesliga. There's more evidence that someone else did it. Not to say he wasn't involved, not to say he wasn't involved in the scouting of Alonso or anything like that, but I just don't think he was the man at the top of the table that brought him there. I was going to do a video about it. I might still do it. It's just, it's going to be a bit, people will say, oh, you've been negative about Steidten. It's not, because I'm excited about Steidten. I hope he is in charge of bringing in the new manager. We don't know yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit of a committee. Steidten's in there with Mark Noble and David Sullivan, possibly Karen Beattie as well, because she sometimes gets involved with the appointment of managers. So I wouldn't be surprised if the four of them were involved in identifying a new manager. But if the answer was Steve Cooper, I'd be disappointed. But in regards to replacing David Moyes, I think it would be quite easy to get a new manager in that would play better football than David Moyes. I think they'd be able to identify someone like that. Simple enough. Stadium would already have a list. I'd imagine Mark Noble. You went to Mark Noble now and said, give me 10 managers that you could bring to West Ham that would play a better brand of football than what David Moyes is. I'd imagine he can reel them off to you. But getting someone in that's going to get better results than what David Moyes has got, which is 6th, 7th, won a trophy, that's going to be difficult. It's going to be really hard to find someone that can replace that like for like. So the football will improve, but the results improving will be a difficult thing to do. So it's vital that they get this next appointment correct, because the grass isn't always greener, and I've never been anyone but David Moyes. And, you know, to use the worst case example, or best case in my defence, would be Rafa Benitez. We were linked to Rafa last season. Christ, no thank you. I do not want him whatsoever. Would I swap Moyes for Cooper? Probably not. Would I be disappointed if we got Cooper? A little bit. Do I think Cooper would do well at West Ham, by the way? I don't think he'd get us relegated, put it that way. I think he would do okay. Just, I want better than okay. I want better football. I want to enjoy watching West Ham more, and I hope that we can copy the results that David Moyes has done in regards to finishing in the top 10 and having deep runs in the competitions, whether it be European competitions or domestic cup competitions. That's what I hope for. I hope for that. Maybe I'm being a bit greedy, wanting all of it, but that's what I hope for. Is Steve Cooper the man for that? I'm not convinced by it. Who is? Well, we've all got our own managers that we'd like to get if David Moyes was to leave. Now, why don't I believe this rumour? I'll tell you why. The journalist behind doing said article or said claim is the reason. To have this information to hand, which is what he's claiming, is that he's claiming three things here. A, Cooper's under pressure, which I don't think is a wild claim. If they've only won one game in 9, and they've spent quite a bit of money in Nottingham Forest, let's not pretend that they're poor. Any manager would surely be under the cosh a little bit. I'd argue that a third of the maybe 25% of Premier League managers are under pressure at the minute. So Steve Cooper being one of them wouldn't really be a surprise, would it? He's claiming that Crystal Palace would want him. You can see why. I think there's a lot of logic behind that link. And then he's claiming that West Ham would potentially want him should David Moyes leave next summer. That's 3 claims regarding Steve Cooper. Now, for all those to be accurate, you need to have good links somewhere. This is why when transfer rumours come along, some of them are quite easy to believe because you only need to know one. So let's just say there's a transfer rumour. West Ham want Bouli Dia. We're being linked to him a little bit at the minute, aren't we? So let's go with that rumour. Well, you just need to know the agent, or you need to know someone at West Ham that could confirm it. You just need to know someone related to the selling club in order to get that rumour. You only really need to know one because there's only one claim there. But to have TalkSport's article, which is 3 claims, well, you've got to have some pretty good contacts all singing off the same hymn sheet there. Now, the reason I disbelieve this a lot, the only place you could get that 3 claims from is someone related to Steve Cooper, probably, which is Cooper's under pressure, but these 2 Premier League clubs are potentially interested in him. Fine, fair enough. But last season, the journalist claimed that Steve Cooper was sacked. He ran with the story, I think it was after the Leeds game, that Nottingham Forest were going to go and sack Steve Cooper, and obviously they didn't. So he's been embarrassed a little bit before with claims in regards to Steve Cooper specifically. But like I said, in order to have for that article, it was over there, wasn't it? For that article that was there to be accurate, that's 3 claims in one. I just don't believe it. Like I said, there's Cooper to Crystal Palace one. I could understand why that would be true. It would make sense. And I do think Crystal Palace possibly should have done something this summer in regards to changing their manager, just like I felt West Ham should have done something in regards to changing their manager this summer. But I'll discuss that with Gonzo when we do the Crystal Palace preview. Anyway, Steve Cooper, rumour, don't believe it whatsoever. I think if you were to look at it emotionless and take away who the journalist was behind that article, because that's the main reason I don't believe this rumour whatsoever. It ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he? I think, will Sullivan insist on someone with Premier League experience? I like to think not. I hope he doesn't, because that's going to handcuff us quite a lot. And somebody that's Steiden or Noble might want to bring in may not have that Premier League experience behind them. And I don't want to rule out a manager just because they haven't managed in this league before. I think that would be naive and foolish. So I hope not. But if it is something Sullivan insists on, to be honest with you, I guess what I'm trying to badly say, I would have believed this rumour more pre-Tim Steidten. So we were linked to Cooper back in March or April. You could see why West Ham would be interested in him, but not so much anymore. But one man that's impressing me quite a lot is Gary O'Neill. Obviously, when we do this, and there's a lot of hypothetical discussions, and it's, who would you like to come in if Moyes was to leave? And last season, my answer was always Postecoglou. I strongly believed he'd be good for the Premier League, and I strongly believed he'd be good for West Ham. But post Postecoglou going to Spurs, I've not really had much of an answer, because my knowledge of managers is limited to the Premier League, a little bit of lower league English football, and German football. Apart from that, my knowledge is slim. I might have heard of I'm not saying I haven't heard of managers, by the way. Will Still is the perfect example here. We've all heard of Will Still at this point, but I've still not seen 1 minute of Will Still's team play football. So I've heard of him, yes, but do I want him at West Ham? Well, it's hard to, because I don't know what his team plays like or anything. I know a little bit of how his team plays, but that's because of what I've read. But I've not watched enough to say, yeah, that's the manager I'd like at West Ham. So I heard of managers, know managers' names, etc. Yes, but have a strong enough opinion to want them at for a football club? Not really. But one man that is impressing me quite a lot, actually, is Gary O'Neill. Now, a lot of our subscribers wanted Gary O'Neill in the summer because he just left Bournemouth. He was a free agent. It's like, well, let's go get him. And I wasn't keen, because while I was impressed with what he did at Bournemouth, I just felt that it wasn't really enough evidence that it was, not to say he was a bad manager. I want more of a safe bet. When we replace David Moyes, I want more of someone that I feel is it's inevitable to be a decent success at West Ham. And I didn't feel O'Neill was that in the summer. I thought, well, he'd done good at Bournemouth, I need to see more. Well, I'm seeing more, and it's not that much more. It's 12 Premier League games, 13 Premier League games now. He's impressed me a lot. Wolves have impressed me this season since he's gone in there. But when he was on Monday Night Football a month ago, maybe, I thought he was really, really good about how he spoke about his tactics, etc. I was really impressed by it. And then when they played Fulham the other night, and it's not just that one game, how Wolves have played under Gary O'Neill, I've been impressed by that high press, move the ball quite quickly as well. I quite enjoy how Wolves have been playing under Gary O'Neill. What's the way he speaks after games with that authoritative over VAR and stuff. I found myself really warming to him, actually. And he's got a lot less experience than Steve Cooper. But there's just something about Gary O'Neill at the minute. I found myself really warming to him and actually thinking, hey, if he was West Ham's next manager, I don't think I'd be displeased. Is he a guaranteed success? No. But I'd argue they are few and far between. There's not many managers you can bring in and be confident they will be a success. I guess it depends what you determine as a success for replacing David Moyes. And I think this is a big question that currently those at West Ham are trying to answer, whoever they are, whether it is just Tim Steidten on his own, whether it's him and Noble, whether Sullivan's involved, Brady's involved. I don't know. But I guess that's the question. What do they want from their manager? Do they want results at all costs? Is it just to stay in the top 10 Premier League and try and win trophies? Well, you've got that manager already. So what is it they're wanting? Is it better football? Is it a better brand of football that's more entertaining? Like I said, I feel that's quite easy to go and get. It may come at cost, which is results. You may not be in that top 10 for much longer. Because I think, like I said, results-wise, it's going to be difficult to replace Moyes. So you need a bit of both. You need the results and the entertainment, I think. I'd imagine that's what West Ham are trying to get. That's not easy. So there's going to need to be a gamble somewhere, because when Leverkusen hired Xabi Alonso, that was a gamble. Now, it was an educated one. He'd had three years at Real Sociedad B, got them promoted for the first time in 60 years or something, got them relegated again, but they were punching above their weight being in that league. It would be a bit like Luton getting relegated and us criticising Rob Edwards for it. He's done well to get them in the Premier League. So they took a gamble with Xabi Alonso, but it was an educated one based on how he played at Real Sociedad. They knew him. And this is part of the reason why I strongly don't believe Tim Steidten was solely responsible for Alonso. I don't think he was the main man responsible. Xabi Alonso's friends with Leverkusen CEO for a start, and then knows who is now the sporting director at Leverkusen. It was an educated gamble, and it's worked. And I think we are possibly going to have to take our own one if we replace David Moyes at the end of the season. And it's not easy, but I don't think the answer is Steve Cooper. Anyway, I don't think it will be either for reasons I've already discussed. But I'm going to shut up and disappear now. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it. And get involved in the comments below. I'll be back later on this afternoon to see what you're all up to, see what you're all discussing. In regards to news, there isn't too much, is there? Jared Bowen isn't travelling to Serbia, which I don't think anyone expected anyway. And I don't think anyone was keen on seeing him go there. But the club believe there's a high chance he'll be around for the Crystal Palace game. Just say he's fine, but we don't want to risk him in Serbia. We get it. Patreon.com/HammersChat if you want to be in with a chance of winning this match-worn Emerson shirt. You have to join Patreon today or tomorrow, though. Anyone that joins Friday, you'll be entered into the December giveaway, but you will not be entered into November one. And the top prize is this signed shirt. Catch you in a bit.